I once did a video talking about the Plus model of the iPhones, at a time when it became clear that the mini versions were no longer going to be a thing. And while there are definitely still those of you who really miss the smaller editions of Apple smartphones, there were legitimate reasons why a Plus model made sense. Well, now there have been some shifts in the gap between the base and the Pro models this year, and this time the iPhone 16 Plus might be as compelling a choice as ever. So let's go ahead and talk about that, because it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here are some thoughts on the iPhone 16 Plus. Okay, I've been going back and forth with the base model iPhone 16 models for a little bit now, considering there are very few key differences separating the smaller and the bigger editions that don't sport the Pro name. I actually have a real-world camera test on the iPhone 16 that you can find on my channel, which will cover pretty much all of my thoughts when it comes to the camera system here, since the Plus sports the same exact hardware and capabilities. I'll still give a few thoughts in this video, but make sure you check out the camera test using the link appearing above and below. While you're at it, why not hit that like button for me so I know what you're liking here on my channel, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. One final thing, there is a sponsor for this video, and it is ESR, an old friend of the channel that has shared with me some great accessories for the whole iPhone 16 lineup. More on those in a little bit. Before we even get to talking about just the size of the iPhone 16 Plus, let's talk a little bit about the various reasons why you'd want to go for a base model, just a base model iPhone in the first place. Some of the reasons are fairly obvious, like the price. There are no huge surprises when it comes to the price points of the phones this year. They're pretty much what you would expect, except maybe it's time for the entry-level storage options to stop feeling like an Achilles heel. I actually have a story about that, because originally I did buy the iPhone 16 Pro at the base storage of 128 gigabytes, thinking I would have my cloud storage to fall back on and external hard drives for like more intense video and photo work. Little did I remember that I'm also an avid enough gamer that after installing Resident Evil 4 on what's supposed to be considered a Pro device, well, I found that I had used up all of the storage space and I could barely get away with like minutes of recording 4K video after that. It begs the question of exactly what kind of Pro Apple expects to buy an iPhone 16 Pro when you start at 128 gigabytes. And to that end, how many people out there who upgrade their phones once every, let's say, couple of years might need way more space in their hardware before having to resort to the monthly subscription cost of having cloud storage? Anyway, that was a slight tangent, but the bottom line is that the base storage options offered this year hopefully won't be coming back next year. The other reason why the base models tend to be a little bit more desirable does come down to looks, as the iPhone 16 and the 16 Plus come in some new, more vibrant colorways. But I ended up with the ultramarine here, which goes pretty well with my Mega Man wallpaper actually. I find that the other reason why you'd want to be in the Apple ecosystem all comes down to their honestly insane third-party support. MagSafe is a whole different world, and one company that has really ran with the MagSafe capability is ESR, who are also the sponsor of this video. If you're all up in the Apple life with not just the iPhone 16s, but also with, let's say, an Apple Watch or a pair of AirPods, ESR has your charging needs covered with one of the coolest stands capable of powering up every single item. And I say coolest literally, because ESR brings their signature Cryo Boost cooling system to make sure whatever is wirelessly charging on there doesn't heat up too much. This is the 3-in-1 Cryo Boost charging stand that also supports Qi 2, which makes it a super fast iPhone charger at 15-watt wireless speeds. Just behind that MagSafe dock is the aforementioned cooling system, which powers on automatically, and you can literally feel the cool air as it helps keep the charging speed as high as possible. But while the iPhone is charging up at an angle that makes it work well for media viewing or for the docked clock mode, another attachment behind it can nestle an Apple Watch. And then finally, there is a spot for AirPods at the base of the stand, completing what might be many of your trifectas of the Apple ecosystem. This stand manages to charge everything up faster than other third-party brands, which makes it a great addition to my office desk during the workday or to a nightstand. But when you're on the go, ESR also has a Qi 2 MagSafe power bank available for keeping this phone powered up while out and about. You can see here it's a pretty slim battery too, considering all of the thought that ESR put into these features. There is this kickstand right here that can prop the phone up in portrait or landscape orientations, the magnets are strong enough for a secure MagSafe connection, and then there are actually built-in sensors that monitor the temperature so that charging temps stay below 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, there is the USB-C port over on the side if you want to charge up other things as well. This same 15-watt wireless charging speed here tops up iPhones way faster than typical MagSafe power banks that only sport half that speed, making this a great companion for when your devices are away from that home base. So, to check out these products from ESR, make sure you hit the links that I have in the description and in the pinned comment below. Thanks again to ESR for hooking me up with some powerful charging solutions and for sponsoring this video. Now, despite being considered base models, Apple decided this year to outfit their non-Pro variants with quite a few of the advanced features. Compared to previous years of the Plus, the gap just isn't as wide anymore in terms of the feature sets. For example, we have the dynamic island returning here, and it has really proven itself as a useful tool for certain bits of information like boarding times for flights, or just for visualizing stuff like media playing in the background. You also finally get the action button here, effectively making the silence toggle a real thing of the past. I do have it set to the focus modes right here, and I usually go over to work and whatnot, but in all honesty, I could be pressing this button way more during the workday. I'm happy to have the action button now because it is a shortcut to something other than the camera, now that the camera shortcut has its own dedicated button. Perhaps this is a slightly surprising move, but Apple's newest addition to their phones isn't considered just a Pro feature. Yep, we're talking about the new button here on the side, the new slider and button, the camera control. Now, I've been talking about camera control quite a bit in other iPhone videos, so let me just give you the quick gist of it. While it's not perfect, it is an appreciated addition. I don't find myself using it the same way I use a dial on a bigger camera, simply because using it is ever so slightly disorientating enough to just throw my composition off kilter. Still, it's a good example of how much Apple does want to put into the base model so that people who are wanting to keep things a little simpler, they won't be missing out on too much. And that does include the fact that the processor on here is kind of fresh, as opposed to repurposing last year's chips. The A18 is, again, not a Pro processor, but it is built from the ground up in a 3nm process to handle all of the AI that we're still waiting to arrive on the new phones in the first place. Yeah, AI is all the buzz that you keep hearing about, sure, but it is informing companies of the ways to actually position their new devices. The result in the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus is a properly updated processor. And you know what, that is a big deal because software and games are getting a little more intensive. And no, I'm not talking about how intense Resident Evil 4 is, even though it definitely is that. iOS itself has been getting more and more feature rich, right down to being able to move icons and widgets to any part of the grid, having an improved control center where you can add your own various shortcuts, whether it's in this page or in other pages where you can actually expand things like the Now Playing widget. That's pretty cool. And all of that is before we even get to Apple Intelligence, which hopefully will make Siri actually good finally, hopefully. The only problem with more power at that engine is that some of the hardware around it does feel a little dated at this point. 60Hz refresh rate is not bad in my opinion, but I can see how people really wish it was at least 90 when you have things like AAA games and indie darlings that are really starting to file into the App Store. The thing that I miss the most is the always-on display. You don't really get a chance to see anything. I mean, I am glancing quite frequently at my phone just to see if there are any messages from important people, or maybe I just want to be able to show off my Mega Man wallpaper more. Still, the typical person who wants to do their daily tasks comfortably won't be feeling wanting here, and with the larger device, there is certainly more room for work and play. I did make a point in my video on the iPhone 14 Plus that Apple might be making a move towards, let's say, those who need to be able to see things more clearly on a larger display, rather than those who just want their smartphones to be as small as physically possible. To be fair, I do wish that there were more capabilities in smaller smartphone packages, and that's why I chose to main the iPhone 16 Pro rather than the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the iPhone 16 Plus is just about as middle ground as you can get, with just enough added in to make it feel more like just another small step forward. And that includes with the cameras, which are now back in a vertical orientation. While the megapixel counts might be the same this year, a few key additions make the shooting experience feel a little closer to Pro. Now, as I said before, I have a real-world camera test using the smaller iPhone 16, and that phone has the same exact camera, so these samples you're seeing right now will still properly represent the Plus. Photos ultimately look as good as you would expect in good lighting conditions, though it's been getting really gloomy in some of my scenarios lately, so the gray, overcast look is not making for the most eye-catching results. That is when the photographic styles come in though, to add some color or some mood to what you're shooting, and in my case, make things look a little more interesting. These are the same styles that are on the Pro, making it another feature that crosses that gap. And for most people, I think that this LUT-like or high-powered filter experience can be enough to make any user of the base models feel like they're in more creative control. Just don't expect to be zooming in a whole lot. And when it comes to video, the iPhone 16 Plus doesn't get all of the super crazy codecs or features like ProRes or 4K 120 or log recording, but for social media or small production work, it's still plenty capable and puts out the same pleasing video quality we've come to expect from Apple. Just make sure to use the main sensor the most because that will provide the best results. For every reason why the smallest iPhone 16 may not work for some people, the Pro models shove just a little too much more beyond that to feel a little out of reach. And that's why the Plus model is a thing, and I think that this year Apple has done a good job of making it feel like an upgrade no matter where you might be coming from in previous generations. Back to my original point, the iPhone 16 Plus represents a choice that wouldn't make sense if instead of Plus we only had Mini instead. Yes, a perfect world would be having both versions available, but unfortunately, we can't have everything. Ultimately, this year's iPhone 16 Plus stands as a great way of maximizing your Apple smartphone desires without having to actually go max. And maybe that's more than enough. Let me know any thoughts you have on the iPhone 16 Plus, even if you just want to talk more about how much you miss the minis. I'm right there with you, but larger phones can still be fun, and in the grand scheme of this year's iPhones, this Plus model is making more sense than ever. But with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again today. Thanks again to ESR for sponsoring this video. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.